So if you're watching this video, you've chosen to follow along with me on building a basic raffle tool here. So the empty ticket manager, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to do a refactor and a rename. That's available in NetBeans. Again, you don't have to download NetBeans. You can use whatever tool you want to, but I just want you to see the tool I'm using here. So this is going to be the basic ticket manager right here. And by doing the refactor, then I'm actually fixing automatically this code right here as well. If I change that name or create another class on its own, I have to change this name manually. On line, right now it's line 23, assuming that doesn't change of the Raffle app. This needs to not be empty, it needs to point to it. Now if I run the app right now, it's gonna blow up. You see an unsupported operation exception. So when it called basic ticket manager inside of here for add, see I haven't done anything for that yet, but I can fix that now. So the easiest Java data structure probably to deal with is the list. So the list, I hit Control Space there, available in many tools, and that automatically imports it there for me. See, Java list. The list allows you to create a list of whatever object you want to. It could be random O object, here capital O object, or I can say a list of tickets inside here. This isn't a Java class, but just kind of talking you through some of these ideas. And these are my tickets inside of here. I'm going to make it private to be nice, good Java style. This can be equal to new array list. All right. And I'm going to create my array list, and that's my data structure. Let's see. There you go. So to add something to the list then is very simple in Java. I can use tickets.add. Now notice, I'm not going to use an array. I'm not going to create my own linked list. We'll learn how to do those things later on. I'm going to use the built-in one for now, but it's going to have specialized behavior that I'm going to wrap around it. And that's why I have this little interface here for that. So I'm going to add in the ticket. Very simple implementation for add. So this adds it to the total number of items inside of there. So the number of entries, well, I don't need to track that myself because the structure tickets does it for me. Size. So I can just say, oops, and I got to return that. So return the tickets.size is going to get me the information that I want from the list right there. So when I pick a ticket, that's going to be a little bit more involved. So I'm going to come back to that in just 1 second, but I'm going to not have it throw an error. So what I'm going to start with is I'm just going to say tickets.remove, and I can remove it based off the index. I'm going to say remove index 0. So that's the first item on the list. Now, why am I doing the first item on the list? Well, I'm doing the first item on the list because I don't know what the size of it is, and it's the simplest call. The first item is always 0. It's a temporary bit of code, but I'll point out, I can't just assume that there's anything on the list. If I say remove 0, I might get an error if there's nothing on the list yet. But I can do that for the moment. But the important thing is I'm actually removing it. I'm not doing a get. So if you know Java and the arrays, the list at all, there is a get operation, but that does not take it off the list. So that's why I got to do the remove specifically there. And so just to double check, you see remove actually returns the actual ticket object. So so it is returning the right type. There is a remove that is a Boolean, but that's if I tell it which object to remove. All right, so then logging all the entries, you may or may not have seen this little bit of coolness in Java. So you could do a for loop on this, and that is perfectly reasonable way of approaching that. But if you haven't seen this yet, it's a cool little thing to introduce. Tickets.forEach. So in the collection hierarchy, there's a method called forEach, which allows me to say, okay, for each ticket inside of there, the name of this then is the name. It's a variable I'm going to create up for each ticket, or I can call it T, or I can call it T1, or I can call it Tzizzle, or I can call it ticket. So for each ticket, I'm going to do some behavior. And so this is a lambda expression inside of Java. And so what I can do is I can take out the value that's passed to me here, dot print line, the ticket that comes in. I don't actually don't need that semicolon there. So for each ticket, I'm going to print it out. This is the same thing as writing a for loop. So I could write a for loop and then do out.println for each ticket, or I can do it in a single line of code using a lambda expression. I'm not a huge fan of lambda expressions. They're cool and they're efficient writing code. Writing the 3 lines of code, 4 lines of code that would be the loop doesn't bother me either. So I'm showing it to you just in case you've never seen it before. But there's nothing wrong with doing the loop as well. And we're actually going to have to do a loop up here in a second. But now is a basic little ticket implementation. 5 minutes, quick and dirty, just to get started with this. So let's go ahead and run our app and see what happens so you can get a feel for what this thing does. So you can see the number of entries after I've added them all is 20. And the entries is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 19. So 0 through 19. And then they have their IDs associated with it. And so I'm going to pick a ticket so long as there's an entry. And you can see I remove ticket 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in order. And then I get 0 entries at the end. So it's not a very good raffle because the first person to buy a ticket is the first person to win. It would be very low incentive to buy past the first ticket or however many number of prizes there are, but it's a way of getting started. It's a way of knowing that I have my data structure up and working. So I'm going to pause right there. If you haven't been building this as you go, you can always code it and pause it as you go, or you can watch the video, pause it, build it on your own. That's a really great way to see how well you remember the ideas. And then when you're all said and done, then you can come back and rewatch it if you need to. So I'm going to pause it there, and then we'll jump into the next little bit where we'll actually work on making a more interesting pick inside of this code.